You haven't heard from her in weeks. No texts, no calls, no updates. Yet, she's still taking up space in your mind like she never left. You wake up thinking about her, wondering what she's doing, who she's with, and if she ever thinks of you too. But here's the brutal truth, brother. The absence of contact doesn't mean the absence of emotion. It means there's unfinished business inside you. And unless you deal with it, she'll keep haunting your thoughts long after she's gone. This speech isn't about getting her back. It's about getting you back. When you find yourself constantly thinking about her even though there's no contact, it's easy to assume that what you're missing is her. But in most cases, it's not actually her presence that you're longing for, it's the feeling you had when you were with her. Maybe it was the sense of being wanted, the comfort of having someone who seemed to care, or the validation you received through her attention. These emotions can be powerful and addictive, and when they're suddenly taken away, the void they leave behind makes it feel like you've lost something essential. But here's the truth. What you're really missing is a version of yourself that only existed when she was around. Maybe you felt more confident, more desirable, or more alive. That version of you seemed better, because she reflected those feelings back to you. And now that she's gone, it feels like that part of you went with her. So your mind clings to the past, replaying moments that gave you a temporary high, hoping to recreate them somehow. This is where self-awareness becomes critical. You have to ask yourself, was she truly adding value to my life, or was I dependent on her presence to feel good about myself? Because if your self-worth was tied to her attention, you weren't in a healthy relationship. You were emotionally outsourcing your value. That realization may hurt, but it's liberating. It means you have the power to reclaim those feelings, not by getting her back, but by building a life where your confidence, peace, and strength come from within. When you stop chasing the feeling she gave you and start creating it on your own, the obsession fades. You don't need her to feel complete. You just need to remember who you were before you gave someone else control over your happiness. When something ends without a clear resolution, your mind doesn't let it go easily. It circles back over and over, searching for answers, trying to make sense of what went wrong. That's what we call an emotional loop, a mental cycle that keeps replaying because it was never given a clean break. If your relationship ended without closure, without a real conversation or explanation, your brain doesn't see it as finished. It's still open, still unresolved, and that's why she keeps showing up in your thoughts even though there's no contact. This constant mental repetition isn't just about her. It's your subconscious trying to solve a puzzle it doesn't have all the pieces to. You start overanalyzing everything. Her last words, the way she pulled away, the silence that followed. You imagine different scenarios, alternate endings, conversations you wish you had. You do this because your mind craves completion, and without it, it creates its own stories to try and fill in the gaps. But those stories usually lead to more confusion and more emotional pain. What makes emotional loops so dangerous is that they trap you in the past. While she may have moved on, your mind is still stuck on page 1, trying to rewrite the ending. And the longer you stay in that loop, the more you disconnect from your present reality. You miss out on opportunities, growth, and healing because your thoughts are still entangled in something that's already gone. The only way to break that loop is by accepting that you may never get the closure you want. And that's okay. Closure isn't something someone else gives you, it's something you create for yourself. You choose to stop asking why and start focusing on what's next. That's when your mind can finally rest and you can move forward. When she goes silent, it doesn't just affect your heart. It hits your ego. Deep down, most men are conditioned to take pride in being wanted, needed, or even just acknowledged. So when she suddenly stops responding, disappears from your life, or doesn't make an effort to reconnect, it doesn't only feel like emotional rejection. It feels like a personal attack on your value. And that sting, that burning need to understand why she's not reaching out, it's often your ego, not just your heart, demanding an answer. The silence leaves a vacuum, and in that emptiness, your ego starts whispering dangerous things. Was I not good enough? Did she find someone better? How could she just forget me like that? You begin comparing yourself to imaginary rivals, doubting your worth, and questioning your identity as a man. These thoughts don't come from love. They come from a wounded pride that's been fed by unrealistic expectations and a deep need for external validation. This is why it's so crucial to separate emotional attachment from ego bruising. The pain of her absence may feel like heartbreak, but if you're honest with yourself, much of it is about feeling discarded, not necessarily about losing a deep, meaningful connection. When your ego is in control, you chase validation instead of healing. You seek attention instead of self-growth. Understanding this distinction is powerful. It allows you to take a step back and ask, do I truly miss her, or do I just hate feeling ignored? Once you can face that question without defensiveness, you begin reclaiming your power. Her silence no longer defines your worth. You stop chasing ghosts and start rebuilding confidence from the inside out. That's where true emotional maturity begins. Not in getting her back, but in getting your sense of self back. Often, when a woman doesn't reach out, it's not because she doesn't care or never felt anything. It's because she's watching, observing, and waiting to see how you respond to the distance. In many cases, she's testing your emotional strength, whether consciously or subconsciously. She wants to see if you'll crumble without her, chase desperately, or hold your ground like a man who values himself. This isn't about playing games. It's about her instinctively checking your emotional resilience. A man who can't handle space or silence is a man who appears emotionally unstable, and that's not attractive. What many men don't realize is that staying calm and composed during no contact speaks louder than any message you could send. It tells her you have emotional discipline, that you're not driven by panic, neediness, or insecurity, that you are capable of standing firm even when emotions run high. That kind of strength draws respect, even if the relationship is over. Because emotional control is rare, and it shows maturity, confidence, and self-worth. If she's truly interested, this strength often makes her more curious, not less. She may begin to question her decision, wonder how you're handling the silence so well, and start to see you in a new light. But the point isn't to manipulate her or wait for her reaction. The point is to use this time to regain clarity and ground yourself. Silence isn't just a pause, it's a mirror. It reflects who you are when no one else is affirming you. So if you want to handle no contact like a man, don't chase, don't collapse. Stand tall, reflect, and let her watch you grow. Because the real power isn't in making her reach out. It's in showing that you don't need her to. Thinking about her constantly without contact is a signal that you haven't fully taken control of your inner life. Your mind keeps returning to her because there's emotional energy you haven't redirected yet. But here's the truth. Your life moves forward only when you decide to move forward. That means shifting the focus from her to you, from thinking about the past to creating the future. You need to turn this phase of silence into a personal transformation. It's not just about surviving the distance. It's about using it to evolve into a stronger, sharper, more grounded man. Instead of checking her social media, wondering if she's thinking about you or replaying old memories, use this time to build yourself. Hit the gym, not to impress her, but to respect your body. Dive into your work or start that project you've been delaying. Reconnect with your purpose. Rebuild your social life. Fill the silence with action, not anxiety. Because when your days are full of growth, progress, and self-respect, the mental hold she had on you begins to weaken. Most men wait for closure or a sign from her before they start healing. But you don't need her to send that message. You are the message. Every time you choose to move forward, every time you choose discipline over despair, you send a powerful signal, not to her, but to yourself. That you're not defined by who stayed or who left. You're defined by how you rise when you're alone. If she ever looks back, let her see a man who didn't pause his life waiting. Let her see a man who took heartbreak and turned it into fuel. That's the version of you that becomes unforgettable, not to win her back, but because you finally became everything you were meant to be.